I thought a little bit about knowing my audience first, and so I wanted to know more about you. And then I wanted to talk just a second about who I am, because as I was preparing this for you, and this is the third iteration, I've seen countless business speakers in this very building. And one of the key takeaways that always comes with those business speakers is the big thing they did. So I don't know if you guys have come to those speakers, but it's someone who's built a business, sold a business, or if you go to student affairs, is it fraternity, sorority life, any speakers there? It's always somebody who's like survived a crisis, lived through a crisis, solved a problem, and it's some big story, and it's really important. And the more I think about my story, I'm like, I'm kind of average in a lot of ways, right? Like I grew up in suburban Chicago, I went to Purdue in Indiana, I wanted to go to grad school in the Sunshine State because everybody from this side of the room knows, and including upper New York people, that the weather is terrible, Connecticut included, Detroit especially. And then, so I didn't open a business, I didn't start a business, but I did get a professor job very, very early. And so I was one of the youngest people teaching at UT in 2005. So this was the end of my 18th year here at UT. And in 2017, I felt a little bit stagnant. So that would have been around my 14th year, maybe somewhere in there. And so I chose to do the entrepreneurship program here, the master's program at UT. So I have 4 degrees, and one of them is this MS in entrepreneurship here. And it's this very building with these very beautiful people who are awesome. And I can't say enough about it. So if you've ever thought about the master's in entrepreneurship and you've not talked to a grad student yet, you have one right here if you want to chat about it. So you had to have a business. And so one of the things that I needed to do was have a business that didn't conflict with my full-time job, which was being a tenured faculty member in the communication department. So that was like, okay, I can't start like a security company, and I can't do like a product that's gonna keep your sweat off your body like Nike, because I didn't have the manpower time to put into that. So I needed to do something like a consultancy, which many of your faculty in the finance department have all of the experience in like accounting consultancy. And I needed to do something that had my talents involved, which is one of the things you have to think about when you're thinking about entrepreneurship and sales, is what are your talents. So mine are speaking, I like people, organization, my doctorate's in leadership and management. So I was thinking how I could do those things. I created a leadership travel company. The idea would be we'd take people to Costa Rica, and they'd be executives, and we would do like trust falls and shit like that. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic came. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I started a company called Fitcom. And I'll give you the information in a little bit, but the idea behind Fitcom was to take what I learned from the travel company and the entrepreneurship program and to do public relations and marketing for fitness professionals. How many people have worked with a trainer, worked out with a trainer, you've taken a yoga class, kickboxing, a fitness class here at UT? A lot of us. And so sometimes when you're not at school anymore and you're in the community, those folks, they might be great trainers. Maybe your trainer was a US military veteran, but he knows nothing about how to market himself. It's the same Instagram with the pictures of him doing shots on the beach or something. And so the idea of my company was to know our audience, take that, work with those type of people, and then to give them a product and so forth. So what happened was the pandemic came, and so nobody needed public relations and marketing services. Anybody who was at home with nothing to do, they were marketing themselves. And so essentially I turned the business into an academic pursuit. And so if you go to my Instagram later, you can actually take the Fitcom study about how communication can help people with their fitness outcomes. So that's currently what I'm working on, is how communication can help people with their fitness outcomes. But one of the things I wanted to mention is I left the business in LLC. And has anybody had Dr. Plateau's contracts class yet? Okay, that's coming. But one of the things you want to think about is how will you register your business, even if it's an idea, and then how will that affect your tax responsibility at the end of the year? And so that's one of the things that I've continuously done in business, is use the Fitcom moniker to work on my speaking and my writing and events like this. And so that's something, if you have any interest in a one-man shop, come talk to me, keep my information, and I'll help you there. But it wasn't that I wanted to talk about, because I figured I could talk about those things with you. I wanted to ask 2 questions. The first is, what does entrepreneurship mean? So somebody Google that really quick. Define entrepreneurship, because we have a small problem. It's from a Latin word, French Latin.
It's the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risks and hope of profit.
And now Google where the word comes from.
Sure, it's like a Latin word. I just heard this week.
Yep, entre is a Latin word for what?
Oh, I forgot. I just saw it.
To start. Pretty sure it's opportunity. To start, opportunity, sake of time, we'll go there. So, entrepreneurship is the idea of opportunity, and when you have opportunity, you also need what?
An idea? Ambition?
Execution.
All good things. I'm going to go with relationships. So if you have the opportunity to do something, you need somebody else to help you make it happen. It might be your one-man stop, but you need a customer to give you your sales. And so what I want to talk about really quick is the opportunities that you have with people you meet and the relationships you build and how to sell to those people using a speech comp theory of motivated sequence. So that's an aggressive agenda with a 20-minute time frame, but what I want you to do now is think about somebody you've recently talked to. Think about somebody you've recently talked to in like a sales space, in a classroom space. Got it? How did it go? Who was it?
That was my friend. Yeah, that was my friend in my accounting class.
So it's your friend. It's your friend, okay. Who else talked to somebody? What else?
I had a guest speaker for one of the clubs.
Okay.
And he was a private wealth manager and private advisor at U.S. Bank.
Okay. I want you to take this note down somewhere, or if I have pens for you. If you need pens, I've got pens for you. You're welcome. So, you're welcome. So there's a communication principle called I, you, they. It's an interpersonal communication principle. You're welcome. When you enter into an interpersonal relationship, there's 3 separate ways you can think about the person with whom you are engaging. And the idea here is, are you part of an I-you relationship, or a they-you relationship, or is it something like they are them and you don't communicate with them? And this gets broken down into a bunch of different ways. But one of the things as entrepreneurs that we have to pay attention to is the importance of this relationship here. Can you give me an example from a restaurant where you might engage in a they relationship? Who might you treat as somebody else that's not part of your party at a relationship, in a restaurant?
The waiter.
And what do you mean by that? Because you're right.
Like they're not with you.
They're not with you. And ordinary people treat waiters how? What? Say it loud.
Poorly.
Poorly. You do not treat waiters poorly. Why?
They're there to help you.
Of course they're there to help you. They bring you your food. Why else does the people in this room not treat waiters poorly?
I'm not a dick.
You're not a dick, correct. And when people like you, what do they do for you?
Go above and beyond.
That's right. They don't spit in your food, which I would think is the bare minimum, but they don't spit in your food. They buy things for you, from you, or for you, maybe, I don't know. People don't buy things from people they don't like, right? People don't go to doctors they don't like. People don't learn from teachers they don't like. Look at the rate my professors of half your faculty. You probably have selected people that got really high ratings. You didn't want to do an 8 a.m. accounting class with someone you didn't like, right? Sorry, that's where you are. So I had an example that I wanted to share with you before moving on from this, but I don't want you to ever forget this. Please remember this, because that flight attendant, she's going to bring you free booze. Okay? The waiter might give you an extra dessert. The small business owner might do a free mosquito cleaning for your house. I don't know.
Thanks, John.
John Carlo.
So, yesterday, this is where the calibration and the redo of my presentation for you came to play between last night and this morning. So, it's advising season at UT. Are you guys familiar with this? Many of my advisors and my students don't know the names of their advisors. That's a they situation, and you must fix it. If your advisor is terrible, change them. Okay? Let's move that aside and talk about this for a second. Yesterday, I had 6 advising appointments lined up. I'm from the communication department, but the brunt of my students are in advertising and public relations. All a function that you will engage with, by the way. Okay? First one hops on to the Zoom. They all wanted Zoom appointments. They're all ad and PR majors, and they all wanted Zoom appointments. Okay, easy for me. First person hops on, no camera. Okay, it's easy for me. Starts talking. Just starts talking. I thought about taking mass media and society, and then I was going to take public speaking with Dr. Foltz, and then I was literally I'm saying into my computer, hey, have we met? And this person said no. And I was like, let's back up a little bit. Like, okay, let's back up a second. So I'm Chris Gurry. I run the Masters in Communication program here at UT. I teach the speech comm program, so I'm in that program. I have ad and PR majors as sort of a side hustle because there's tons of ad and PR majors if you don't know. And I'm from Illinois, and I've been in Tampa 20 years. Where are you from? Where do you think she's from?
New York.
They people up there. But to me, I wanted to open with that story because I don't want you to be in that situation. Because this young person, I don't think was looking at me as an opportunity. So first, I've been in Tampa 20 years. I know everybody. Second, I'm in a major in a department where she could get some help if she became close to the advisor. But they don't treat people like this with this opportunity. So as an entrepreneurship club, you should think about everyone as an opportunity. This does not mean we use people, right? Because if you use people and it becomes disingenuous, they will see through you and then you'll definitely not get what you want. But the idea of how you treat waiters, advisors, faculty members, club members, people like this, every single person you meet is an opportunity. And so these folks I just kind of think of are like young people who've never been trained. We have a lot of COVID kids who are sophomores that haven't had to do like, hi, how are you? I'm Chris, that sort of thing, which is a little bizarre, but okay. The Midwestern kids probably think this is very strange because they are the nicest people in the room when you go into a situation. They're not?
Depends from the where
Definitely the
Midwest.
South.
Texas isn't even the South.
Yes, it is.
Texas is Texas. Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Georgia are the South.
It has Southern hospitality, for sure.
Okay, it does. So I wanted to tell you that. But the second thing I wanted to ask you about is the risks you take. You ever take risks on people? This is going to be a very small program. So in the entrepreneurship program, you're going to hear a lot about risk. Well, what are the 2 ways to bootstrap, or there's one. What's the other way to finance a company?
Angel.
Angel investor, what's another way?
Partner.
Full cash, right? So you've got cash, you've got investment money, you've got bootstrap. Okay, sometimes this incurs a bit of risk. And so you're gonna hear about risk a lot throughout your programs. One of the things I want you to do, or I like to talk about with my friends, is to take risks on people. And to not be so like closed, because you can get opportunities that you didn't know had already previously been open to you. I'll give you an example and I'll move on. I was in Berlin. Has anybody been to Berlin? Nobody? Has anybody been to Germany? Okay, you have to go. Did you been to where were you old enough to know?
Yeah. I
you-
went to Frankfurt.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Germany's amazing. Hard to like know what stuff says, but it's amazing. And I was in a bar and I was in Berlin and I was by myself. Okay, so this is a recipe for like weirdness to begin with. I'm in a bar, I'm in Berlin, I'm by myself. If you've been to Berlin, you know that people don't go out until midnight. So there I am in this bar and I hear English, and so I'm by myself, and so I start talking to this guy, and he's like, well, where are you going on your trip? And I'm like, well, in about 3 weeks I'll be in Ibiza, Spain. And I said, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, I own a house in Ibiza. I'm like, okay, sure, dude, you own a house in Ibiza. I said, I'm meeting some friends, whatever. He said, well, here's my number, I'll pick you up at the airport. So at this point, I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna end as like a forensic file and I'll be dead, or it's gonna be great. And what ended up happening was he said every single thing he said he'd do, he did. So he picked me and my travel buddy up at the airport. He checked us into our hotel because he knew all the people there, and he was like, why are you guys staying here? I'm like, because it was $300 a night and it's a 2-star hotel in Ibiza. And he was like, oh no, let's take your bags with me, check in, but we'll go. We went to his house on the water, and we ended up staying there the entire weekend. And so you had to think about, well, what does he want from us? And it was one of those camaraderie things because he was surrounded by Spaniards all the time that he wanted to be with Americans. And so it was sort of this opportunity that we met in Berlin, could have been a forensic file, and it didn't work out that way, which was fantastic. And so I say that because sometimes we think about the worst in people, and sometimes we have to think about the opportunities they can provide for us. All right. I want to switch gears real quick and think about, has anybody done a pitch? What have you pitched before?
Like business or in general?
In general.
My dad to get me a car.
Okay, what was the pitch for your dad to get you a car?
It would help save. I'm trying to think of a good one. I did multiple. Think of the cost you would save on an airline ticket when I can just drive to school.
Okay, costs.
Mm-hmm.
Costs, okay. What's your name again?
Dennis.
Dennis. Okay. What's your name again?
Madison.
Madison. I want you to sell Madison this watch. Have you done this exercise before?
I have.
You have, so you should be good at it.
Hopefully.
Pressure.
You're buying this watch, but you don't have to spend your money on it.
Okay. So, I have this watch. Do you know what type of watch this is?
No.
No.
It's a Tag Heuer watch. What time is it?
I don't know.
Well, wouldn't you want to watch? But yeah, it's a beautiful, nice looking watch. And I mean, do you like fashion? Do you like to wear nice things?
I don't like the color orange.
Oh,
Well,
snap.
you know what's great about this watch is that you can actually change the band on it and make it any color you want. But you'll still have this part, which
Is it blue?
It is blue.
Doesn't go with everything.
Man. Okay, so she's walking out of your store. Why don't you sell him this watch real fast? We'll get him.
Let's see that.
Oh, buddy, I see you got a watch on. Look at this. Yeah, you only have one watch, so you're
That's
not,
all I need.
You're not a real player.
That's all I need. Are you kidding?
See, personally, I'm not trying to flex right now, but personally, I'm usually wearing 2 watches because I'm like that. I think you should try it out.
I think
know,
I'm
you
good.
need to
I think I'm
give it a
good,
little
honestly.
test.
I think I'm
Right?
good.
You want to pop out with some nice orange, you know?
Why would I need another watch?
Because it's too.
There's only one time.
It's turning into an argument.
We need to know what time it is in Berlin. All right. Oh, okay. We go down here to former Minnesota.
Uh-oh.
That was great.
Hey, do you know what time it is by any chance? No. You could probably use a watch. Just for you, 50% off this watch. Not only does it tell the time, it tells the day, month, year, and you can set it to your birthday.
Wow.
Wow.
Buy this watch?
No. Okay. You can go with multiple now.
Give me that back. All right.
So then
No,
why
thank
did
you.
you buy it?
Why did I buy it? Because it's durable, because it's warranted, because it's beautiful. Maybe not here.
So I just had a quick question. One thing that I definitely do when I start a sales pitch
Yep.
is, are you in the market for X, Y, or Z?
Exactly.
Are you in the market for pest control?
Right. Are you in the market for a watch? So if this guy already had, which is what we could have done here, if he already had a watch, maybe he's in the market for a dinner time watch, right? Or an athletic watch or a diving watch. So Giancarlo's point is where I'm going, and this is the next thing you probably want to write down if you're taking notes, especially if you have pitches to do in the 431 class or any of the other classes. This is where you should start. So when you're selling something, whether it's yourself, whether it's an argument with your roommate, whether it's that you want your family to come to Florida for Christmas rather than you go back to Long Island every single time, one of the things you have to start with is the need. What is the need for your audience or your receiver to pay attention to your product, your service, or your pitch? So when I did the entrepreneurship program here at UT, one of the things that people got hung up on with their pitches was that they explained the features of their business or product, okay? Now, do you think people buy BMWs because they have Bluetooth? Do you think people buy BMWs because they have heated seats? Why do you think people buy BMWs? Status. Why else? Speed. So they're fast machines. They help the German army use them in the war. Okay. What else? Luxury, which might go with status, right? Brand name. So now it's something like more status. Okay. And some might argue even safety. Is your family any safer in a BMW X5 than a Kia Sportage or whatever they are? But have you seen the Kias lately? They are sharp. They are sharp as hell, right? So one of the things you have to start with is the need. The next thing you have to do is you have to look at, I don't have a watch.
Are you in the market for a watch?
I'm in the market all the time for three things.
Shoes, watch.
Watches, and suits. And things that fit. The next thing you have to do is you have to show your audience the benefit of the thing that you're pitching. So, with the BMW, what's the benefit of status? Now, this is a subversive topic when we're talking about status, because status is touchy in people in America, right? You want to be rich, but not too rich, right? You want to be cool, but not too cool. Think of the American high school experience, right? You want to be different, but not too different. Like, all these kids run around high schools trying to be different, they all fucking look the same, right? Right? You want to be rich, but not too rich. Like, I want my doctor to have the nicest car in the lot, because I want her, him or her to have, more wealth, perhaps, than the tech. But I don't want them to maybe have a Lamborghini off of my, skin cancer. Because that's weird in America, right? So you have to think about, what are the benefits of status? Well, if you're going to places where other people have status, then that allows you the entry ticket, okay? What's the benefits of having a watch?
Time.
What about time? You're absolutely right.
You know the time. It's like a very efficient method.
It's efficient, and it's a method, and you don't have to hit your phone. I meet with students all day. I wear a watch so I can glance at my wrist to know it's time for them to go. Okay? It's not disrespectful, it's not rude, and I always know what time it is, and no one knows that. Whereas when you have your phone, then it's like, oh, he's looking at his phone, I've rambled on too long, I've made him bored. And that's not the case, I just have another kid after them. Yeah. And finally, what? Nah, I thought you were raising your hand.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought you were asking for more things about the watch, so I was gonna say, they go with outfits.
Yeah. You want to paint a picture for people in the visualization step when you're pitching your idea that they can see themselves with your product or service. So you're the BMW sales girl. What are you telling your family that's on your sales floor? What do you think?
Safety right away. If it's a
Yes.
family,
Yes.
safety.
So they come in and they have little people with them. You tell them that this is the #1 safety rated car from Germany. This is a German themed speech today. Okay. You see a young guy come in and he's by himself. You don't know who he's attached to elsewhere, but you see a young guy come in, and you don't want to stereotype, because then that could lead you down a wrong path, which is a whole other workshop. But you might talk about what?
The M package.
The speed, the M package, which is good for sound, it's good for wheels, speed, Florida, going to Miami, I don't know. But you have the young guy see himself going to Miami. And you paint the picture of imagining that they could see themselves in the car. And then you go to finance, right? And that's the action step. So if you're selling the car, you take the young guy back to finance and you show him that if he puts $9,000 down on a BMW lease, he'll have a $400 a month car payment or something like this. But that's where they tinker with it, because they get you on the sort of emotional level of the visualization step. You can absolutely see yourself in this tag watch. You can absolutely see yourself in a BMW. Well, I can't afford it, sir. Yeah, you can. And I'm going to take you back to my girl, and she's going to help you get that payment squared away. And so this idea of getting people to see themselves in your product, that's what you need to be thinking about. So when you have students who you're advising, I want them to see themselves graduating. I want to see them think of themselves as in charge of their education. When I have students who are in my classroom, I want to see them think of themselves as getting A's, that they can give good speeches, that they're not scared. You're gonna see people along your journey who are like, I'm so scared to pitch my product. If you're scared to pitch your product in a UT safe environment that's beautiful like this, how are you gonna ask for money somewhere else? Okay. And then you wanna know how to ask for it. Tell people exactly what you want from them that's ethical and real. And so these 5 steps, the action is where you draw attention to your product or service. These 5 steps are called the motivated sequence. So if you want to Google it or write it down, I can glance at my wrist. It's called the motivated sequence. If you want to come by my office at any point in your career to talk about any of this stuff, absolutely. If you have a presentation, we have a Center for Public Speaking that they're all trained, all the speech tutors are all student tutors, so they're great kids that have done this stuff. They know all these patterns. So if you find yourself in a class where you have to pitch, use this pattern. Start with you've heard start with the why from Simon Sinek, I'm sure. Why are you important? Why is your product going to solve a problem? Why does this matter? Why does the market need a new discount airline? I'm flying a discount airline to Alabama next month. Has anybody been on Breeze Airways yet?
Just like Spirit.
I hope not. I paid a first class ticket for $125. I don't know if I have to help fly the plane or what. But why does the market need another discount carrier? Is America getting poorer?
Kinda.
Some of America's getting poorer, so maybe that's it, right? I don't know. So the idea is, why do we need you? Why do you matter? And why do the people you communicate with matter? So those are the 2 things that I want to talk about today. It's like everyone's an opportunity. You want to think about relationships. And if you're thinking about practical psychological selling, this is the motivated sequence you can use in any speech, in any class, anywhere you go. And if you are a little lost or you're new to UT, come by the Speech Center. We will help you make this happen. And if you have a bum group, because some of you guys are entrepreneurship majors or finance majors or go-getters, and you find yourself in a business 101 group or some group where people just, bring your whole group over to the Speech Center and make us the bad guys, and we'll fix it for you. Those are the things that we want to talk about. Yes?
What did you call that sequence again?
Motivated sequence. Good question.
The motivation sequence?
It's called Monroe's
Okay.
Motivated. Man, I brought my brand new glass markers, but the Entrepreneurship Center is just sucking them. Monroe's motivated sequence. And Alan Monroe is from Purdue.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Questions?